What's up, everybody? Kuro the Artist here. I'm with Ben Tennyson himself. How you doing?
Yo, what up? It's me, Ben Tennyson, everyone. He finally got me on. No, actually, everyone, it's me!
Whoa!
The moon!
Whoa! Who would have saw that coming? So yeah, a couple months ago, we reached out to Jay, the creator of Secret Saturdays, and after a little bit, he did respond. So I do have questions right here. So what I'm gonna do is just read out these questions and then read his answer. We'll go question by question and then we can comment on it a little bit.
I remember I asked 10 questions. I don't remember all of them. Did you ask any questions?
I had some questions, but the questions you asked were better. So I just kind of, yeah. I think I rephrased some of them. Let's dive on in. So the first question that was asked was there anything in the original Secret Saturdays run you or your team wished to do but ran out of time or had to scrap? Like an episode idea, a plot line, or even a character? His first answer was, there were many, yes. Our last season was a shorter run than expected, and we had to write tight. Cartoon Network at the time was focusing on live action shows, so this is around the CN Real area, and we know we are not getting renewed. With that in mind, we were at least able to cut to the chase and create a satisfying conclusion to the Kerr storyline. We for sure could have kept going if given the chance. So do you feel like the last season or so felt a bit rushed with that in mind?
It's interesting in that, yeah, it's very noticeable given the fact that the first season is like 24 or 26 episodes and season 2 is 11 episodes. But I think they did a good job in the sense of it is very tightly written, but it's still fun. Like, it doesn't feel so rushed until you get a little bit closer to the ending, where I feel like that's when you could really tell that Cartoon Network was finally like, right, time to slam dunk this into the bin like with all the other shows.
Yeah, well, at least they knew they weren't getting renewed. Like, they were able to sort of wrap it up. I think a similar thing happened in Generator Rex, where it felt like the last couple of episodes was just speed running the plot.
Yeah, and like it also kind of felt like in Generator Rex that they were trying to throw in some things in case they got renewed, like how a lot of plot threads weren't like wrapped up or new things popped up. Sort of thing. Whereas Secret Saturdays kind of wrapped up everything in its own way, at the very least.
And then Omniverse happened. Yep. So that actually perfectly bridges us to the next question. What is your perspective on the Secret Saturdays crossover? Did you have any role in its development? And what is your opinion on the final result and how it showcased your side of the world? So he said he has no input in that episode, but trusted it was in good hands with Man of Action, who were outspoken fans of the Secret Saturdays. I personally love the reinterpretations of the character designs by Derek J. Wyatt, and any chance to get Argost back on screen, voiced by the incomparable Corey Burton, is one I would always root for. So,
no, I agree there.
I guess you felt very different about this than... I mean, it's nice that he's being positive about it, you know?
Yeah. And it's, well, what I think I like about it is it sounds like that, like, him and Man of Action were kind of like fanboys to each other, which I imagine was quite fun behind the scenes in a sense. It's not like a sort of shake hands business deal thing where it's more like kind of like me and my friends making ideas together kind of thing.
I can see that. I mean, they probably worked around like in the same building even or so they probably knew each other in some regard. It is a little unfortunate that he wasn't involved in the episode. You can kind of tell, and for some reason, if you're watching this video without seeing the breakdown, please check that out, link down below. We go basically frame by frame through the episode talking about all of our opinions and little fun facts about it. But yeah, I'd say his absence was noticeable, but if he's happy with it...
And yeah, no, I definitely agree on the Argost, but like, I'm glad at the very least they got the same voice back to back, and it did feel like Argost at the very least.
Yeah, Corey really carried it with his performance. He's always good at everything he voices. Question 3. When making an episode, did you build the episodes around cryptids you read up about, or did you find specific cryptids to fill the role after thinking of an episode idea? And he responds with a bit of both. When creating the show, I put together a massive list of cryptids from around the world, cross-referenced with location, whether or not they were on land, air, or water creatures, and whether their legends were primarily folkloric or zoological. All the writers had this list and could populate their pitches with whatever cryptids fit the bill, or start with a favorite creature and build from there.
That sounds pretty interesting. I would love to see that list, honestly.
Yeah, the master list.
See all the detail. The master list of cryptids. That sounds like my kind of thing. I'm all about mythology and cryptids as I search so many websites to learn about them.
Did you have a favorite cryptid?
My brain always goes to the Owlman, but that was because it was like the first episode I saw as a child. Like that episode I kept seeing on Rerun. There's this cute little like black blob thing in one episode in particular. It looks very alien-like.
Oh my god. That is kind of cute. Question 4. How would you feel about Secret Saturdays getting a continuation or reboot? He says, I'm still waiting. Involved or not, I would be over the moon to see my family back on screen. I like how he calls it his family.
Oh, no, I get you, Jay. I'm still waiting every day.
Yeah, I feel like a reboot might be beneficial. At least like I'm certainly not as much of a fan as you, but you know, like he was saying earlier, if the ending was really like an unfortunate rush, despite the endings being more or less satisfactory. I think if they rebooted it and gave it another shot, especially with how much care animation gets nowadays compared to back then, perhaps it would be a stronger result.
Plus, I think like nowadays things like cryptids and stuff is like a very popular topic. Like, I mean, like people meme about the Mothman, but legit, like I see people all the time talking about like cryptids, mythology. Like, I think we're in that era where, you know, you're not really a nerd anymore for looking at that kind of stuff. So I think a lot more people would be interested in like this time and era.
Yeah, there's a whole market out there. Get on it, Cartoon Network.
Whole market. Get on it, Cartoon Network. I'll be there day one.
So question 5, what was the outline of the original concept for the show? I've seen the concept art on Instagram and it's fascinating to know what could have been. So he's got a pretty meaty answer here.
Ooh.
The original pitch evolved a lot over the 5 years or so it was in the development stage. So he was getting this going for half a decade.
So it came out in 2008, so 5 years. That was in 2003 when he pitched it.
When we were in talks with Nickelodeon, it was a cuter show featuring an anthropomorphic group of cryptids, which got retooled into an action show after they passed and WB took a crack at developing it. By the time we got to Cartoon Network, it was much closer to what you see on screen. But we did work with them to redevelop it and change a few ideas around. The creative process is messy and fun. So it sounds like Zach was not even in the original pitch, or at least he was a cryptid or something.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it was originally going to be like kind of like if it was just Zon, Komodo, and Fiskerton. So it sounds like if Nickelodeon hadn't dropped the concept, we wouldn't have gotten the Secret Saturdays we had today. I didn't even know he was in works with Nickelodeon.
I can't imagine the show would work without the Saturdays either. Like
I know, like
well, the
I'm
humans,
just picturing
I guess.
the humans, yeah.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon was like, sorry, it's not SpongeBob.
Yeah, that's interesting though. Just a whole group of cryptids. I can't imagine that working, which is probably why they passed. But you know,
I'm picturing like it'd be kind of like the Saturdays in the sense of they would be talking about cryptids, but it'd be more in like a child way of like, gee willikers, Zon, we're gonna go see the Owlman. Let's learn about it.
Looking back on the show after so long, this is another question. How do you feel about it? Is there anything you would have liked to change in hindsight, or are you happy the way it is? He says, there's no time to worry about being perfect in the midst of production, so I am thrilled with what we were able to convey. I'm very proud of the work our team did, and so happy the show got to exist at all.
I can understand that. Like this year, like based on what we're hearing about the behind the scenes stuff, it must feel like such a relief that to actually get it out there, even if it didn't get to go on for long, like at very least you got something.
Right. This kind of stuff we do between Five Wild and Beyond is nowhere near on the level of like producing a television show, but even then I can kind of sympathize with the fact that when you're going, you just gotta go, and you gotta make, at the end of the day, you gotta make something. You can't wait till it's perfect, or else it's just never gonna come out.
Well, it's like how you talked about how like you always wanted to do something more with the comic, and that's what led to the motion comic stuff. And it's like when you actually started the production and put out the first couple of episodes, you were like, it's finally here.
Yeah. Question 7 is, who is your favorite character from the show and why? So it looks like he's got two opposing sides of good and evil here. It's Fiskerton and Argos for the tie. because they were two of the oldest character concepts I had kicking around in my sketchbooks. So I wonder if Argos was part of the original Nickelodeon pitch. He is a cryptid, so he says they felt more personal, and he thinks they came closest to iconic cartoon characters. Diedrich Bader and Corey really imbued them with miraculous personality. It's hard to pick favorites, though. I love these characters, and the whole cast was incredible. We were so lucky to have them all together for full readings. That's great that they recorded together.
As like an artist and story maker myself, I can understand that, like, you love all your characters, but there's always like at least one or two that just feel so personal to you. They're like your children, essentially. So
question 8, how did you and your crew learn about all these different cryptids? Because most of the ones you picked are not well known to the general public. So he says, I'm an armchair expert on cryptozoology with well over 50 books on the subject. Just did a quick count. Wow, he even counted for us.
Oh my god.
Thank you. And he's still super passionate about the subject. My goal was to popularize cryptozoology to the mainstream, and it feels like it worked. Before the Secret Saturdays, the term cryptid was almost non-existent outside of the pseudo-scientific literature. Bigfoot, Nessie, and the like were always simply referred to as monsters. And now you see it everywhere. Maybe I was just riding a wave of pop culture that was already happening, but it's just so gratifying to see. I agree. Secret Saturdays definitely opened me up to cryptids. I never even heard that word before, I don't think.
I vaguely heard it here and there, but it definitely wasn't a popular term growing up, and now it's like nowadays I feel like I hear a lot of people talk about it. The passion on like cryptids and mythology I can relate to a lot. Like I go searching for so many mythical creatures and folklores and stories because I love just how ridiculous some can be. I like how it's an exploration on humans and how they viewed the world, how they explained things, and just it's always fascinating to see, and you get a lot of inspiration from it. In fact, I have a whole thing where I have a Trix user whose gimmick is she names all of her aliens after folklore creatures and mythologies and stuff, and it's really fun to go researching and looking into it.
That's a really neat naming scheme. I like that. That's the interesting thing about sci-fi. I don't know if cryptids really counts as sci-fi, but just the idea of like fantasy or anything, like it's always grounded in reality in some way, and it inspires people to research. Like Kellen and I were talking about, all Ben 10 fans are biology nerds at this point, and it's like, because we just look up like environments and body types and how things adapt. So I imagine it's very same with cryptids. Question 9. If you could have done another crossover with another series, do you have any in mind? So he said, before CN made the content shift away from the success of Ben 10 to live stuff, there were initially building... hold on. They were initially building an action universe, which means that along with Ben 10, Generator X, and Symbionic Titan, they were always intended to be part of the same world. This is a scoop. What? And in my mind, the Secret Saturdays is following directly in the footsteps of classic Hanna-Barbera action shows like Johnny Quest, Space Ghost, Birdman, and the Galaxy Trio, Herculoids, Mighty Miter, and the like, so they wouldn't feel out of place at some strange meetups. Can you imagine that, though?
Oh my god, like a timeline where they didn't do the live action stuff and instead did like this mega crossover like the MCU. I would, that would be dope. Like, young me would have been just excited to know
the action cartoon MCU. That would have been sick. And that makes sense with like the references of Ben 10 and Secret Saturdays. Maybe Ben 10 was like the Iron Man or something, and they were gonna slowly start putting it all together.
Like you got like your Iron Man, your Captain America. I'm just picturing the all potentials of the shows back then that could have worked like that.
I would have watched Symbionic Titan. That's another show I've heard so many great things about, and I just it somehow missed my radar. But that's gonna lead much more hate towards the CN Real era.
You Cartoon Network.
And the last question: is there anything you'd like to say to us fans? He says, "Thanks to all the folks who keep the torch lit for this dear to my heart series. It's the best feeling in the world to see the love and fan art online after so many years. You make it worth all the effort we poured into the show." That's sweet. So he's still checking out fan art. That's nice.
No, he is, because he reposted one of my art pieces on his story on Instagram, and I almost didn't catch it because he did tag me, but I didn't get a notification on it. And like I just went through his story at random, and I was like, I had to take a second to be like, hold up, was that my thing?
That's always sweet to see, like, the creators of stuff, like, acknowledge the stuff you've made.
It's funny when I say this, but it feels like we're all just a bunch of nerds talking to each other.
Right, yeah. But it's fun. Say what you want about modern day social media, but it does create a very unique connection between fans and creators that we've never had before.
I've definitely seen a lot of negative situations, but that is to be expected in any kind of environment. I think it's kind of outweighed by seeing so much positive interactions and love for like these shows that we've grown up with, and I'd like the creators seeing how much their work means to people.
Well, that's all the questions we have, and this was definitely a fun way to get inside his head a little bit more, especially after the breakdown. I can't believe we were robbed of that shared universe, though. That's crazy. But thank you for coming on the channel again. I appreciate you, part of this whole experience, and we'll be talking soon about some more fun projects we got coming out. I hope you enjoyed this little questionnaire we had from Jay. Thanks again, Jay, if you're watching, for answering all these questions. This was fantastic, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. And as always, keep it fizzy.